Alrighty, Mr. Gatekeeper here. We got a Texas Star Mod V, and we have a hot plate 1200. And I'll tell you what, this is the very first hot plate 1200 I think I've ever had on the bench here. Let's see here. Yep, 1.2 kilowatt. Focus now, what you doing? Must be that fan throwing it out of focus. Anyway. Yep, it's the first one I ever had. I've always had 1600 sent to me. It's first 1200, which ain't nothing. Same amp, different transistors, different capacitors, etc. Alright, so Mr. Goldfinger wants me to do a power wire upgrade. You can tell that I do not have enough power wire here. I've been needing to order some, so I'm going to have to jump on the internet here and order some power wire. Go ahead and order another 100 feet. So let's see here. Wants to change it to a 1200 to a 16. I'm not sure if he's wanting me to change the front faceplate as well. I'll have to give you a holler about that. I think I do got some new faceplates. Wants me to do a full switch over. And if I remember correctly, you told me there are 2879s in here. Basically what somebody did is just put 2879s in it and didn't change anything else. So that probably has a little bit of reflect, a little bit of less output with the 1200 configuration. We put 3/8 outlet, etc. No Andersons and new ground screws, new SO239s, and you want a brand new 1446, which I do not have in stock. That's going to be a quick 50 bucks. Honestly, hell man, if that 2290 is working good, I'd just roll with that, but I'm here to do what you want, my man. We'll have to get a 1446 ordered. I could probably guess when I give you a call, you're going to be like, nah, just keep 2290. We ain't going to wait no longer. I'm just guessing though. We'll see. Power wire upgrade. Wire up the fan. I'm hearing some stuff moving around in both of these amps. I mean, it may not be something bouncing around. It may be a ferrite. But I do hear some things jingling around in the 1200 here. So I don't know what that is. Just to document some bends on the heat sink here and the fuses there. Maybe pieces of the fuses. Just to document all this. You can tell this amp's definitely had some use on it. But there's nothing wrong with that. So those could be the screws in there. I don't know. I'm about to pop the top off, so we'll be back. Alright. This is what was making all the noise. It appears this came from back here, which is pretty loose. So anyway, that's your remote. This is an old box, man. This is a real old box. This did not have the CW keyer in it. This was made back when they were not doing that. They didn't have that scare to where they had to start converting these to CW transmitters. So this is an old school box. It's going to take a little bit of work, bud. You see the sub combiners are not sitting up on stands. We got individual shunt caps on one of the outputs and not the other on each side, which is pretty unique. So yeah, I'll have to update a few things in here. I can see that some people's been in here and made some changes and stuff. It's normal. It's still biased. Okay. So it's still AV biased. I'm taking a gander around here. They don't have the, well, yeah, it looks like they still have the switches hooked up the same where they bleed when you turn them off. They bleed the caps. You see these right here, man, the papers just fell off of them. These need to be pulled. All the electrolytics need to be changed. I'm going to get back here and we're probably going to have to change these. Let's see what they are. I doubt they could even be 680s, let me see, or 330s. I remember right, I think they used 390s or 330s on these 1200s. So all these metals are going to have to be changed. That's $4 plus a pop. Yeah, that's not 1,000. What is that? 390, I believe. It's a 300 and something, I know that. Let's go look at this one. Does it say 390? Yep, I think so. 390, I believe. Anyway, I know they use 390s, 330s for these 1200s. That's definitely choking your power down on the output, that's for sure. So I'm going to have to take them out and pop some 1200s, I think. 1200s or 1000s. I'll get my little conversion sheet out that I always use. This will be the first 1200 to 1600 conversion I've done, which is no different from converting from a 400 up to a 5, really. So yeah, it's going to be a little bit of work, man. A little bit of work. Not like too terrible, but it's going to be a little bit of replacing. Removing, replacing, moving, replacing, and we're going to have to check the wraps. It's another biggie. We may have to completely unwrap all these transformers. So we got a little bit of labor here. We'll be back. Alright, Mr. Goldfinger, here's a baseline test before I get in here and do what I need to do. Alright, this is just hitting with the Stickman radio up here. I still need to do some work to my bench radio, so we're driving about 8 bird into it. About 40 peak. 1000 watt slug. 1000 watt slug. This is peak. This is RMS. RMS, we're getting about, a little bit over 200 bird. Peak, we're getting about, let me turn the peak on, sorry. Right there about 600 peak watts. Alright, the input reflect is this 5 watt slug in reverse. So it's a 5 watt slug. We're looking at about 1.5 watts. About 1.5 watts of reflect. Of course, that's going to rise up if I put more drive into it, so it is what it is. Alright, man, there's your baseline test. I got to get in here and change some stuff. Basically, these input transformers have an extra wrap on it. After looking at this, I'm taking a wild guess that this amplifier actually had Motorola's in it at one point. That's going to be my wild guess. Texas Star, they did release some of these older school 1200s and such with like MRF 492s, transistors like that at one point in time. I don't know how many they did, but just with the wrap pattern of this, the caps on the output and such stuff like this may have been a Motorola amplifier. So it is what it is. So we got a little bit of work to do in here, man. We don't even have an output tune really on this thing, and it appears that somebody has done this right here, sending this through series right here. So we got to get a little bit of work we need to do to this, man. It's gonna be a little bit more work than I thought it was, but we'll get it done, and she should be rocking and rolling. But we got a baseline test, so let's get some stuff done and we'll see what she's doing when we're finished. I'll be back. Alright, Goldfinger, I'm done with your Sweet 16, man. Like I told you, I had to do a good bit to it. because it was a 1200, a Texas Star 1200. So I had to get in here and literally convert it over to a Sweet 16, and I had to do a good bit of stuff to do that. First thing I had to do, let me turn the power off here real quick. One of the first things I had to do is, this is one of the very first 1200s they done. So it's over 30 years old, probably about. So this was set up for a positive grounded vehicle, meaning that the heat sink and the frame was isolated from ground, the board ground. So I had to sit here and remove 1, 2, 3 capacitors on each board. Those little things. And put a connection from the screw, which is connecting to the frame and the heat sink, to the board, so that all this is a ground now. Okay, because it was isolated from the two, so I had to do that on all 3 screws on each board. Okay, next thing I had to do is I had to remove a wrap from each input transformer. Okay, there was 1 wrap too many on them. Next thing I had to do was remove these caps right here on the input transformer. Put you brand new 1500 picofarad caps on all the input transformers. Okay. Next I had to remove the 390 metals that was on the output transformers. That is actually for a Motorola design. That's why I'm wondering if there are Motorolas in here first, because 2290s require 1000 picofarad. Okay, 2879s require 1200. So I had to drop 4 1200 picofarad metals on the output transformers. Okay, next, the 330s that were on collector to ground were out of whack, meaning they were completely off the chart from each other. One of them had devalued all the way to about 100 and something picofarad. So I had to put you brand new 330s, which are these caps right here. All these caps right here on each collector to ground. So I had to put all 8 new 330s. Okay. Next is, there's about 3 or 4 10 ohm resistors that were charred from where pills have been blown. Alright, this is pretty important. You don't want these 10 ohms being left in there charred, because these 10 ohms are part of your bias circuit. They become part of this bias circuit on each individual thing. So what I went ahead and did is just removed all the 10 ohms, dropped you 8 brand new 10 ohms on each, 2 per board. Next, the way they did these old school output, on the output of these old school 1200s and 1600s, is they would put these tiny little, these are all the parts that came out here, they'd put these tiny little DM19 caps, tiny little DM19s on the output of each 4-pill section. Okay, so there'd be one right here on this combiner, one right here on this combiner, and then they'd have a 10 microhenry choke right here to ground. Take a look at that choke, man. Thing is burnt to hell and back. You see that? They do that to correct a little inductance on the output to give a L to ground, an inductor to ground. That's the old way of doing it. The proper new way of doing it is like this. Now I'm lucky because that I even have these capacitors. Okay, not many people even have these particular capacitors because they are 225 picofarad capacitors. The way Texas Star does is they take 3 of these 225 puff capacitors and put them in series, creating a single 1500 volt metal clad capacitor at I can't remember what the value is. It's very low, something like 70 or below picofarad. So they do that because it's an 8-pill and you've got high reference voltage right here on the output combiner going to the relay. So this is how they get away with it without having to use, a trombone capacitor or or something like that. So they got to put the 3 of these bad boys in series to equal a 1500 volt metal clad capacitor, one single part. I had 3 of these left, Goldfinger. 3, brother, and that's it. At one point I had about 25 of these that I got from my buddy over at Texas Star, and these are the last 3, because you know, on a Texas Star 3200 16 pill, that you can use these up pretty quick, converting older sweet 16s or 1200s like this to the modern way of doing the output tune. So very fortunate that I had them. If I didn't have them, I would have had to do something else, which luckily I have not had to do that yet. So I need to re-up on these caps. I don't like RF parts 220s or 225s because they are lower amperage ratings. So these are higher amperage rating capacitors. So I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna try to see if I can't get in touch and get some re-up on some more of them. All right, next is I had to replace all 3 of these combiners. These right here are called sub combiners. This is your combiner for this 4 pill. This is your combiner for this 4 pill. This is the combiner for both 4 pills. They had seen better days, my friend. They were blown. And here is the main combiner. It was blown so bad that it discolored the ferrite. This is no good no more. The inductance has actually been lowered. Ferrite can lose its value when it has been heated up to a point that it can do that. So anyway, what I went ahead and did, instead of putting the normal size combiner on the output, I went ahead and beefed it up for you and put 2 bigger combiners. I can't remember how much these things cost on the RF parts. I want to say like $7 or something. I went ahead and put you 2 bigger size combiners. I've been kind of doing that lately for the fun of it. I may start doing that for all the 500s, 667s. So these are 3 brand new combiners. Okay. Next thing I did is had to replace a couple of things. This wire right here was chafed up, and this is the wire going to your remote. So this particular Sweet 16 doesn't have a, or it may had, I don't know. Somebody added a bolt right here. You want me to replace that nasty bolt, and I did. I threw it in the trash. I should have saved it up here, but I put you a brand new bolt, stainless steel back here for a case crown, which you really don't need with Texas Stars, but oh well. Hey, there ain't no such thing as too much ground, I'll tell you that. But anyway, I had to put all new wire on here for you going over here, because they had this wire soldered down here going over the circuit like this, and then this wire, which is carrying the power back to your relay right here, was just cut. Like, it looked like it was ripped somehow. So I had to put new wires going over here for you. Alright. Next thing, of course, I did the full power wire upgrade. Went ahead and came in with 4 decent sized stiff 10 gauge wires. 1 positive wire for each 2 pill section. And then what I do after that is I come in with 2 real thick, hefty 8 gauge wires. I drop 1 on this board right here. Okay, and then I have an 8 gauge wire right here that's carrying the ground over to here. I like this because normally I have to replace the one Texas Star has on here by factory, which is a tiny wire. So basically it's just about the same as having this one sitting on these 2 boards. So this is an 8 gauge Teflon wire going to this board, and this 8 gauge drops to this board, and the same thing to here to this board. It's because it gets very, very congested when you have literally 8 wires coming out of this box. So here's your strain reliefs now. 1, 2, 3. This big one is carrying 1 power, 2 grounds. And I went ahead and got them tinned up for you. You said you didn't want a Anderson connector. Okay. Another thing I had to do was, they had this right here going from here to here. It's just an old way of them doing that. With this new style, we don't need that anymore. Replaced it with this wire to here. Okay. Another thing you wanted to do was, you wanted me to put Teflon connectors on there, so we took the factory SO239s, Teflon SO239s. Now you've got two factory SOs. I want to say two Teflon gold-plated SO239s. I want to say they actually had two different kind. Yeah, so look. They had two different kind on here, man. I don't know what's up with that. I guess that one went bad and they replaced it. Last but not least, I think this is the last, they had a trimmer on the input tuner, on the input tuning capacitor right here. I would not trust this tuner. I think this is like a 150 volt tuner. You could be driving enough power into this amp to really get this warm, but we don't need this no more. If you do these amplifiers the proper way with everything, you're going to be good with the factory tuning capacitor right here, which is a 120 picofarad cap. It laid down. It is great. Great low input tune. Last but not least, I think this is last but not least, they had these feedback circuits on here, 2-watt resistors. Texas Star likes to use 5-watt resistors, and one reason why is because they are putting a little bit more feedback into this circuit because of the bias circuit. It's just something they like to do. You have a lower ohm resistor, okay? Instead of 100 ohm like we normally use, you have a 30. Like with this particular one, you have a 30 ohm resistor, so that can develop a little bit more heat. Since it's just the way it works. It can develop a little bit more heat, so it's just best to go ahead and do that. So what I went ahead and did is I had to sit there and drop you 8 more feedback circuits. So yeah, man, I didn't go all out with this. I know you didn't want me to go doing things you didn't ask for. I stopped myself with a few things I was wanting to do, because I know you wanted only what you had to have. That's what I did with this. I didn't go all crazy, you know, rerouting wires and cleaning the boards. You know, I really want to sit here and clean these boards, man, because you know, you got a lot of flux. This thing's 30 years old. I'd love to get in here, just clean all 4 of these boards and turn this amplifier, but that's probably about another 2 hours of labor. And I know you are wanting to get this done for basically as cheap as possible, but done correctly. Some people want it done that way. Some people want to just let me loose and they don't care how much it costs. Hey, to each his own. This is all about preference. It's all about what you know, everybody ain't got money just to throw around, and I completely understand that. And honestly, if I did have a lot more time, I'd probably get in here and just clean this thing for you for free, but I do not have extra time. So anyway, so you got the full power wire upgrade. We took up these little puny chokes right here. Full power wire upgrade with 14 gauge going to the back of each transformer. So this thing is rock and rolling, man. This thing has been pretty much rebuilt in a sense. Alright, I can't remember what it was doing the first time when we did a test, so I'll just have to watch back, but I know what it's doing now. This is just with the radio, no driver. Okay, no driver, everything's the same. 1000-watt slug. No, well, let me turn the amp on. That might help, wouldn't it? Well, actually, let me turn the power on, then turn the amp on. Okay, 1000-watt slug. No, right there, about 900 watts. If I put it on about 15.5 volts, it would do right there at 1000. But I'm gonna leave it on the same voltage it was in the beginning. RMS, 1000-watt slug. Oh, we're already about 320 bird, and it's actually dimming my light here. Oh, I don't know if you can see it or not, but alright. Usually that's what a Sweet 16 normally would do for me with a factory, with my radio. Just with a radio hitting it, usually about 800 watts on a small radio, about 500-600 watts peak. Alright, let's get your one pill up and rolling, hit it with a driver, and we're done. Alright, Goldfinger, we got your Mod V all ready. Had to really go through this thing a few times, man. I didn't know what was wrong with it first. It didn't have a keying transistor right here in it. So I put one in it, and the relay wasn't keying, so got a little test circuit over here I made. I hooked it up to the keying circuit. Saw the LED come on, so that let me know the keying circuit's working fine. And come to find out, the relay was bad. Where did I put that relay? Oh boy, I've been working pretty fast over here, man. I think I already threw it away, didn't I? Well, the relay's somewhere around here. To tell you the truth, I may have put it back in that bag. Well, anyway, it's somewhere around here. I'll find it in a minute. I don't want to have that mixed up with my good relays. So anyway, put you a brand spanking new relay in this thing, man. These bad boys ain't cheap if you find them on RF Parts. These particular ones cost about 14-15 bucks. But they use these same relays all the way up to 667. Anyway, next thing is I went ahead and soldered these tabs right here like I do on all these Texas Stars, because some of these tabs wasn't even touching the prongs. And that's why I do that. Next, this variable right here is blown, which means somebody had been driving too much power into this Mod V, and or they'd been running it with the variable all the way down, putting too much power into it with that. But went and got you a OEM Texas Star variable in here. You don't find these much anymore. Luckily I still got quite a few in stock. Let's see here. Sorry, I ain't keeping the camera just right. Alright, you wanted a power wire upgrade. I got two big, got some big 8 gauge zip cord here on here for you, bud. That's all I had laying around, so you ain't gonna have no issue with this thing starving for current. I'll tell you that, man. Next thing after that is the lamps were not working up here up front. Okay, none of them work. Reason why, and I think that's why these people had put this tape right here with this right here. I think whenever somebody had put this right here, they had popped a trace. It actually wasn't up under the board, because I had to remove this board to put this relay in. It wasn't up under the board. It's on top of the board behind the switches right here. So just to go ahead and fix that for you so you can have workable lamps, I went ahead and, because what happens, the ground trace had popped. I went ahead and run your wire right here from ground over to this switch, which then gives the relay the ground it needs to. So fix that for you, man. And so there you go. I put a new cap right here on the 15 picofarad RF sensing cap too, because it was about halfway hanging in there. So alright, bud, this thing's ready to rock and roll. 500 watt slug. We're looking at the middle scale here. Oh, so that's popping in right there at 150 watts PEP. RMS 1000 watts. Oh, right there about 95 to 100 bird. That's right there what you're looking for with this amp. Input reflect. Oh, just a teensy weensy amount. All right, man. We got the Mod V up and rolling. All right. So get both of these hooked up together. Get this thing packed up, man. And I'll be back. All right, brother. I'm gonna show you both of them working together. I don't have a power supply big enough really to run this Sweet 16 setup right here at this present moment. I normally run this power supply right here, which is my 200 amp supply, but recently I've been inside here doing some work and stuff on this, and I've got to hook the power cord back up on that. So I've got it hooked up to my 100 amp unregulated supply. It's dropping to like 13.5 volts. So, you know, just keep in mind that the amp will do a lot. Well, I ain't gonna say a whole lot, but it will do a good bit more. Because if I had it hooked up on that, it'd probably be doing like around 2,000 watts. But anyway, and we just got a little Mod V hitting it. This amp definitely could take a little bit more drive, but I just like to underdrive my stuff, honestly. But anyway, 2,500 watt slug, PEP, should be say about 1250, 1300. Oh, yep, that's about 1250, almost, yeah, 1250, 1300 peak. RMS, 1,000 watt slug RMS. Dude, right there, 800 bird. So 100 watts per transistor. Alright, man. I wish I had time to hook my 220 wire up on there so I could hook it up, but 13.2 volts, 13.4 volts, 13.4 volts, 13.4, 13.5, 1,250 watts, almost 1,300, hitting it with a little Mod V on a 100 amp power supply. I might say is pretty dang good, man. All right, brother, this bad boy's ready to rock and roll. Hope you enjoy. Put this thing in the computer and get this thing packed up. Bye-bye.